Okay. Okay, good morning again, Ms. Dewar. Thanks for meeting with me today. The last time that we met, I think we were working on standard 5MD1, which is conversion, and converting among different standard measurements with a different measurement system. And I think this is the one that this was the
one where
one we were looking at. I had class 1 and class 2. I think I might have printed both of them. And with this stand on your exit tickets, you submitted standard 1. I think both of them had the same outcome, with 2 being out of 11 out of 13 had 84.62% for both of them. 84.262% correct, which was fully met, and then for partially met, 1%.
This is the same thing. This is Miss Mackenzie's.
Yeah, both of them had 1 out of 13 had 7% correct, which was partially met. But when you look at it, you look closely at it, the one that they got the one that they missed the most was the one about the fit.
Right, the one with the multi-step.
Right. So what I want to do is look at that one just a little bit further to analyze that piece just a little bit further. And let's look at that one just a little bit further. Yeah. And when we look at that, we're gonna look at that. When you look at that one, what do you think that they actually kind of got incorrect? Because it says Hank needs 24 feet of rope for a project. He has 4 yards. How many more feet of rope does Hank need? Note 3 feet equals 1 yard. So why do you think that?
So what they did just the first step, the conversion. So some of them just did the conversion, which was 4 times 3. And got the 12. While some did they knew converting that they were supposed to multiply, because one of the steps that we do is, the first step is that we look at the units we're working with, feet and yards. Step 2, are we moving from a big unit to a small unit, or from a small unit to a big unit? And then when we're moving from a big unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. So if you realize they all did the multiplication, every one of them did multiplication, every one of them multiplied. So they knew they were moving from big to small, so they knew they were supposed to multiply.
They knew they were supposed to multiply something.
But what they did was multiply the 2 numbers that were in the problem.
But go back
they circled.
But go back and look at it, because some of them have up here. Some of them have.
So if you look at it, most of them did
24
times the 4, right? So they knew they were multiplying because they were moving from big.
Right, they were multiplying something.
Right. So
they knew they were multiplying something. But how can we go back to teach them so that when you say multi-step, first we need to look at the gap statement. What gap statement can we come to a consensus on? And when we say some scholars are not yet what, because they don't understand what.
All right, so
because when we look at it, we're talking about what they can visualize. Because they can't visualize the problem because they don't understand what's not.
All right, so with this, they still needed, because they're still not able to identify what they were converting.
Or what's the unknown? What the unknown is. They don't know what the unknown is. Like I said, what they're
the converting
is the unknown.
Right. The conversion, right?
So some scholars are not yet visualizing the problem of what they're, because just 2-step process of the problem, because they don't yet know what the unknown is. So, that part I do agree with you on. So, we probably need to teach them to actually write down, when you're talking about two-step problems, we need to actually teach them how to actually work through. You understand what I'm saying?
So the first, so the first thing I had to do was, when we looked at it, and when I analyzed it, they did their cubes, and they did identify the they circled the two numbers. But what I had to zero in on with them was the notes down here. So I had to go back to this, because clearly what they did was they did the cubes. They know, okay, I'm working with 24 and 4. I know I'm moving from a big to a small, which is multiplication.
Right.
So they just went ahead and multiplied those two numbers that they had circled. So I had to go in, and one of the things that I had to point out to them is, even though E says eliminate what's not necessary, we have to pay attention, because if somebody says to note, so I had to put the meaning of this. So if somebody says to note something, it means it is important. So we had to go back to this right here. And I said, why do you think they gave you this here? And they said, because we're converting from yard to feet. I said, okay, so what did they say about yard to feet? 3 feet equal to 1 yard. So then I asked them, so guys, look back at what you did, because I gave them back the paper the morning of it. And I said, so look at what you did. And they said, oh, 24 times 4. I said, okay, so what should you have done? And they said 4 times 3. I said, okay, when you did 4 times 3, what did we do? We converted the 4 yards to feet. I said, did that answer the question that they asked you? No, miss. I said, okay, do we need to do something else? Yes. So it means we're doing more than one step. So I had to kind of bring them through this right here. And as I had said before, with this one, I had chosen a I order, because level 2 or DOK 2, you will have some DOK 2 in high, medium, and low. And so even though I'm giving them DOK 2, I try to give them a high one in there as well. And as the standard says right here, to solve one-step conversion problems within a given measurement system, I gave a 2-step problem in it. So I had to do a lesson on a 2-step the following day.
But how would you go about reteaching this one? Let me suggest something.
And the reason why I did that, because I did 1 step with them.
Right.
And then I gave them my exit ticket with that.
But how would you go back to reteach this problem is what I'm saying. If you're going back to, because if they had this one, how would you go back to reteach this problem?
All right, so as I said, what we did first was we had to look at this. We had to zero in on every part of the question. So before we even think about what we're doing, we had to analyze. I had to ask them to analyze this, read it over. What is it that you get from this? What needs to be done? And they knew that they were supposed to convert. They clearly knew they were supposed to convert. They said it. But what they did was to multiply this. So I had to bring them back to the scale, to the table. Remember, how many feet makes a yard? They said 3 feet. So I said, then clearly we could not have used 24.
And let me just suggest something too.
No problem.
Let me just suggest doing a table that talks about the known and the unknown, and to kind of make some of this part clear so that it won't be so confusing to them. If you're doing a chart and you introduce known versus unknown, what's in the problem that's already known? And what's in the problem that's unknown? And then what's known? We know that there are we know that he needs 24 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna put this here. We also know that he already has 4 yards. We know up here that 3 feet is 1 yard, because that's here. We know that he already knows that. What is the unknown? Because in the problem, it says what? In the problem, it says
How many
feet?
more feet?
Yeah, how many feet does he have?
How many more feet?
How many feet does he need? And that can kind of, if we're working every problem like that, then they can kind of decipher what's known versus unknown. Just like when we do like the know and show. And then we'll already know the known versus unknown, because like you said, even though it's a 2-step problem, they have to decipher what they already know versus what's already the known versus the unknown. And then Hank needs blank feet. And like you said, then they're gonna go back. Feet he needs 12 minus 12. It's 12 feet. It's multiple ways to problem. You know, whichever way works for them, they're still gonna come out with a correct answer. You see what I'm saying? So even though you're giving them a different problem, I still want you to go back to reteach this. So what I want to do now is I want to go back, and I want you to, we're gonna plan how we're gonna go back to teach this problem back over, because I still want to, because have you already retaught this?
I did the next day.
So how did they do?
They did better because they so
let me ask
when
you a
they did
question.
the conversion.
When you taught it, did you use discourse where you actually went back and you used the other, where you allowed the kids where you used these exemplars, and were you not more so, where you allowed the kids to help teach the?
Because what I did was, if you look, majority of them. So what I did, I asked the ones who got it, what they did. I asked the one, like, what you did, just to hear their
thought process.
Right. So we did that first because I really wanted to know why you chose the 24 times 4. So that's the first thing we did. And then with Derek does things a little bit. He's more here. So he does less writing. So when I'd asked Derek said, Miss, I converted first. I did 4 times 3. So he basically drove it home for me, because he said we had to convert the yards to feet first, and that is 12. And if I have 12 and they need 24, 12 from 24 is 12. So he drove it home that morning for us, for this class.
Okay, so how did the other kids, how did the other kids who didn't get it react to it?
They were like, oh, yes. So they were, then same time they said, we did not do 4 times 3. And then they realized, oh, we multiplied the 24 times the 4. Right.
So did they understand why they did not understand?
And then so I said to them, and they were like, and that's why I said it, because I'm working from base on my the next day, what they had told me. So I'm able to basically say, because they had said, oh, because we had circled the 2 numbers and we're working with 24 and 4, we just went ahead and multiplied because we knew we were moving from big. Right. Okay, so that's what they were able to tell me. That's why I said it, because they told me that's what they did. They just moved from multiplying the 24 to the 4, because those were the 2 numbers they circled, and they knew they were multiplying. Okay. So we had to go back. We had to go back to this. And I'm going to be honest, everybody still didn't get it. Like Tatiana, Zion, those kids, they didn't get it. From that group, Zion, Tatiana, Kenneth, and Azel, Christian, they didn't get it.
Okay, so how do we move forward now?
So
You can work with them in small groups?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what I did
Because all of them are easy except for two.
those two, and they're not
Okay.
in the same group. So
Right, okay.
those
Okay.
two are together, and those
Okay,
three
what about the other class?
are together. Now with this class, I had to go mainly with this one. I had to go to the
So you got this course with the other ones too?
so I did the Wednesday week, but I didn't with this. This one I used the teacher.
So you have to reteach the
Yeah.
whole thing? Okay, okay.
With this group. I
Okay.
did with I reteach with Miss Mackenzie's group.
Okay, how did
And with my group I
You did
use Derek for the
Okay.
this score.
Okay.
So when I reteach Zion, Tatiana,
Okay,
they still weren't getting
okay, okay.
those 5.
So where are we now? How did you land with the reteaching?
With the
Class you had to reteach for?
with this class, as I said before, they're the ones, Tatiana, Zion,
Because I know you did it before we, yeah.
right,
Before
those
for spring break.
those guys, because the thing is, Azel, he had guessed, and he told me right here, because if you realize he got it right,
Mm-hmm.
but he had guessed. What did he do here? 24 times 4. See? 24 times 4.
So how many?
So
you got it right. The second time.
So if you realize here he had just guessed on that. I had to reteach this class because this class mainly gave me the 24 times the
So how did they do after reteaching?
After reteaching, I asked them to so with this one I did not tell them the answer. With this class I didn't tell them what the answer was. I had to reteach it, and I asked them to give me the answer on an index card, which they did.
So how did they do?
And they got the 12. Majority of them got the 12, as I said before, except for Christian, Azel, Tatiana,
And
Zion,
Okay.
Kenneth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Well, you can do some practice with
I'm
them
going to
in
do
small
some practice.
groups.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some more practice because after that reteach,
Okay.
we went on to the capacity. This was length.
Okay.
So we went to capacity after
Okay.
we reteach.
Okay. Well, I'd just love to see your exit tickets for capacity.
You want to
Okay.
see the capacity one?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
can run for it if you want me to.
You don't have to get rid of that.
It's right here.
You can just put it in my
Okay,
inbox.
alright, no problem.
Okay. Okay. I didn't. I
So
wanted to meet with
we
you.
did
With you
capacity
individually
and we
today, and I'll
did
meet with Ms. McKenzie individually. Yeah.
we did capacity, we did weight,
How's it coming along?
and
How's the capacity
those
coming along?
the capacity
Was
wasn't
getting it back
yeah
then?
the thing is, as I said before, what caught them was this, the multi-step, that's what caught them. And I like to, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I like to give them some puts in there because you just don't know what's gonna come on the EOG. And you'll see something say 1 step, but it's a 2-step problem, if you get what I'm saying, because the standard says 1-step conversion. The standard says, given the conversion chart, and I have to be careful because some questions don't give you the,
Right.
you get what I'm saying? So I have to prepare them on all grounds because I don't know what they're going to expect or what to expect on the paper. So, but the ones that weren't multi-step, they didn't have a problem with. They division is what and I'm going back over
So
division.
what does
Division.
Kenneth's parents, when you talk to her, what does she say? Kenneth Williams.
Kenneth.
Mhm.
About Kenneth.
Like academic life, what does she? Because I spoke to her again yesterday. What does she?